Okay, we are recording. Welcome to the Kubernetes SIG Network meeting for March 12th, 2026. As usual, these meetings abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct. And with that, let's start with triage. So I already took a look at by the way, everyone can hear me, right? Double check.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So start with triage, and I noticed that actually we have nothing that has not been assigned, has no assignee in the triage. So instead, we can just very quickly go through some of the assigned but still not triaged items, and I'll just go through them one by one really quickly. So there's this validation around IP address here. I think Dan, you were commenting on this one.
That's Mike Zappa's bug. He was supposed to deal with it.
Okay, so Mike is gonna look at that. All right. The next one here is the sysctl. I think Adrian was on this. I don't know if Adrian is around. Okay. Looks like he's the last one here. I'll pull another one. Service session affinity. Tim said he was going to take this one, I think. Oh no, this is just a re-up bug.
Whatever discussion we had before is still valid, I think, but
Okay, so we'll leave this one open. Endpoint validation looks like a bug.
I was browsing. Yeah, I was browsing this list before too. That's really more API machinery than, but also yeah, somebody filed a PR. So
Okay. And then add the enabled field to network policy. This is a feature request.
oh, that
I think we did
definitely.
have a,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, isn't this covered by your label thing?
Yeah, but that's not happening anymore.
Okay.
And it definitely should not be assigned to Andrew anyway.
How do we
It's
clear the assignee?
unassigned. Or I think you have to say unassign
Ah, yeah, that's right.
a strike list. Um, I think this probably falls back then into assign it to me. It probably falls back into we're not really making changes to network policy v1 anymore, but we'll think about it in the
Okay.
full successor.
And the last one, consider network. Okay, so this one's assigned to me, I think, and I have to follow up on this. Consider network resource management. Yeah, so I still have to follow up. So, okay, so that is it for the triage issues. Dan, do you know of any other thing that we kind of need to look at when
Nope.
we have some extra time? Oh, that's awesome then. So I'll switch back to the agenda. Very first one, mostly administrative.
Yeah, I just wanted a reminder. We're canceling the next meeting because it falls during KubeCon.
Let
So
me just
we'll see
put
people
this,
there.
make this obvious. Okay, no meeting, mute on view institute session. All right, let's record that. Okay, anything else on that? I'm going to move to the next one.
Nope, that was it.
Okay, Rob, you have the floor.
Yeah, this hopefully will be straightforward. Um, so uh, in the Kubernetes networking subproject, we started with this idea of prototypes. So we started with what we were calling a pre-alpha API. Let's just get things moving and move quickly. And we initially said we'll try and do that until around February, I think, and then hopefully we'll have an idea of what works. In transparency, the prototype mode ended up not being as widely used as I thought it would. Instead of it being kind of, we're going to have 5 different prototypes and we're going to compare them, it ended up being kind of iterative prototyping where we kept on just refining what we had. And everything kind of built on top of each other. I do feel reasonably confident with what we have for X access policy, in particular. That's the very first API that this group has started, and just kind of as an update to that process, we're planning on migrating from V0 alpha 0, which it's basically pre-alpha in my opinion, to an alpha state. So V1 alpha 1. It's still under x-k-io, so no real need for API review at this point. But just want to raise this here and see if there's any concerns about the plan. Hopefully this is just, nothing unexpected here, but want to at least leave an update.
Rob, I think as part of that process, you guys will come here and do a presentation on the whole deal.
Yeah, certainly before we actually do a release, which would be 0.1, we would, but this is kind of like the step before that. We want to at least label this alpha 1. And then the release, I don't know, we've got Guy, we've got Lior, they're more actively involved in this project than I am. I don't know the specific timeline for when we do an 0.1, but my guess is in the next month. I don't know. Guy?
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. Maybe the only thing to add here is that, this topic, as Robert said, has been brought up to the Cube-agentic networking call as well. So we got the chance to discuss that. I'm personally and generally supportive of this, obviously. The one of the points that had been raised back then, and I think it's relevant, to echo here a little bit, is whether V1 alpha 1 communicates for this particular project the same thing that communicates across the rest of the SIG, right? To which I want to raise the point that it's in the notes, in fact, right? That this API will continue to be marked as X, right? As under the X API group, as a way to signal that the main reason why we're moving away from V1 for V0 alpha 0, at least in my opinion, is that V0 alpha 0 feels like almost like a placeholder. It's not a proper version number, right? So we do not want for the message to be confusing to users that this is has been enough, not enough work has been put on it. On the contrary, right? So it's a proper API that we are actively considering and presenting to the community seriously, right? So that's the idea of V1 alpha 1. At the same time, we understand that other sub-projects of network, including, may use V1 alpha 1 slightly different, right? Gateway API is probably the best example, and we have people way better than myself, to represent that project here, where any API usually goes to a much more how can I put this, almost heavyweight process of approvals and getting acceptance by at least a number of potential implementations, which is not the case with agentic networking, right? So just to raise the point that it's also V1 alpha 1, both are V1 alpha 1, but it may be slightly different for agentic networking, given the process based on prototyping that Rob already explained. Hence, these APIs continuing to be under the X API group.
Yeah, I mean that all sounds great, and I'm happy about the bias towards iteration and just rapid development. So I think, Dan, did you have any comments on this, or anyone else?
Nope.
Anything else on this topic? Thanks for informing us. Excited to have you guys come and present. Okay, with that, we will move to the last topic, which would be Abdullah.
Hey, folks. Yeah, so this is in the context of inference, the inference gateway or inference gateway extension. As you may know, we've started this project as a Kubernetes SIGs project where we proposed a couple of APIs to extend inference, to extend gateway API to support, like, the idea of injecting or logic that is inference, like that's optimized for inference load balancing. So we've got like the main API was the inference pool API, which basically is a mini service. What it does is it informs the proxy or the gateway that it should configure an XProc callout to a specific service that the inference pool API basically has the selector for. But then there's also the other part. So this is one part, which is the inference pool API, and then there's the protocol of the XProc that we built on top of XProc, which is how that external service is going to return an endpoint for the gateway to route the request to. So we're calling that also we're calling it like the endpoint picking protocol. And then there is the actual service, right? The EPP. There was an implementation of it that we developed in the same repo. And so there are these three parts. So there's the APIs, the protocol, and then the actual service. This proposal here is suggesting that we're going to move the implementation of the service, the APP, into a new project called LLMD, which is also under CNCF. Mostly because this is it's an implementation of the API. And the idea here is that implementation really can benefit from a community that's focused on, that's ML driven. So you get like the ML expertise, the model server community. The implementation of the APP is tightly coupled with the model server behavior as well. So that's why we were trying to find a better home for it to grow. I think we've done a really great job until now. This thing is proved its value. But to take it to the next level, to implement things like disaggregation, PD and EPD disaggregation, doing what we call precise KV cache routing, where we're going to basically have some sort of listening to events from the model servers on KV cache blocks. It's all of this, is tightly coupled with the model server, and it really can benefit from having this being implemented, developed, and maintained by that larger community. So this proposal suggests that we move that into LLMD, while we keep the inference pool API, the protocol definition as well in Kubernetes, and also to actually move it to the gateway repo, not have it in this SIG, in this sub project. And ideally, in this project would be archived, like the existing one. So that's the proposal. I don't know if I explained it well. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Just from my own edification, okay, so you're proposing moving endpoint picker to LMD, but then you're also proposing to move something else? Or is this part of the same proposal?
So it's a two-step process.
I just want to double check.
Yeah,
because
it's a two-step process. First, we're going to move the code to LLMD. The inference pool API, the protocol will stay where they are right now, which is in this current repo. And we work in parallel to move them to the gateway API, basically.
I see. But they don't have to be done at the same time.
we don't want to have like the existing repo as like, Rob, what did you call it? Like
Yeah, so I mean, my concern here is the vast majority of innovation, activity development in this project is on endpoint picker. The APIs, especially inference pool, have largely stabilized. So if we take what I think is the most exciting part of the project and move it to another project, the activity on this repo would likely shrivel up into pretty minimal, and it could risk the project itself appearing like abandonware, which is very far from the truth. But I think this presents a good opportunity to just take the stable parts and make them formally part of Gateway API. And that's kind of the API, that the interface. And then, like Abdullah said, like the actual process, the innovation for EPP, I think that fits really well in a variety of different projects. Like that, we have what I would call kind of a reference or standard implementation inside Kubernetes, which is this one, but there are already other implementations out there as well. So I think this will make the split a bit more clear.
Antonio.
Yeah, so the question is, when this proposal ends, we remove this repo and we have one part in Gateway, another part in LLMD?
Yeah, because like they are naturally actually two different parts, right?
Yeah, no, I let you handle the mechanics and the technical part. I just wanted to know that please don't leave a repo orphan, because we have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why we are suggesting also to move to the Gateway API, like the inference pool, so that this repo ideally gets archived and it becomes part of like, our great history.
And in Gateway, are you okay, or you need still to vote or something like that?
What you mean? Are we okay with inference pool and Gateway API?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've talked with the other maintainers of the API, and they seem open to it, but have not, had a broader discussion yet.
The only thing is that please don't leave orphan repos.
Yeah.
If we can archive, is a big win. And the other suggestion is, I don't think that you are going to have, but sometimes licensing and these kind of things are tricky. I don't know who you should ask, but I don't think that there's any problem. If you move into CNCF, I think that everything is under the Linux Foundation CLA. So great.
One thing that would help, which is sort of mentioned here, is like maybe you could post one of those checklist things.
Yeah.
So people can see what the actual stuff that's going to be done is. That would be useful.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think there's a fair, this looks deceptively simple, but it's going to take a while. I would not expect this to be done for probably a couple months. Hopefully, a lot of it can get done quickly, but it's just there's a lot of pieces to settle out.
Yeah, like if you have to break any dependencies and whatnot, it's just good to try to identify them up front before breaking them and identifying it post facto.
I'm a bit more optimistic than Rob, but maybe that's just me. And I'm an optimistic person.
Okay, any other comments on this? I've waited maximum internet RTT. Okay, with that, I think that's the end of our agenda for today. Just any open items in general that you haven't been able to make it on the agenda? Going once, twice. Okay, all right. With that, I think that's the conclusion for the meeting. So reminder, next meeting is not happening because KubeCon is happening. And then I'll see you guys and everyone in 4 weeks or something.
And remember, there is a spreadsheet with the dinner thing for the
Yes.
networking, and people that that want to join. Everybody is free to join.
For KubeCon, and I don't think there's a link here, but you should post on Slack probably if you don't already have it. And with that, we can close the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thanks all. Bye.